Okay, so far we have created a basic layout template and saved it in our templates folder inside of our website. This is inside of week 6. We have a new templates folder. That's where all templates will be saved. Even the ones that we haven't created yet, that's where they're going to be going. Later on, hopefully you'll have better names than mytemplate.dwt. Maybe it'll be my midterm project, my vacationing, pictures, etc. Whatever it is that you're working on, that's what you're going to be calling them. But they will all be stored inside the templates folder. So far we have a very skeletal view of the website. So far we have a header, rather a page header that goes up here. We have a page navigation unit, we have content article, we have a content side, and we have this footer at the bottom. We will not be necessarily fleshing this particular template out to be a whole site. However, it's going to be something that you can base other projects on. What we want to accomplish with this particular website is just to create a simple site that's got maybe 4 pages. It'll have a home, an about us, a contact, and maybe a products page. We still don't know necessarily what this page is going to be. We just know it's bound to be something. One thing that we can do is you can go to our content inside of eCampus, and you'll see that there's a couple of resources, especially this one, resources used in exercise 6.2. That's this exercise. There's going to be some there's a couple of links to W3 Schools. They have a lot of good information about creating navigation bars, that is drop menus that we're going to be using. Just in general about the HTML layout, we've already been using their HTML layout sample. And we're going to also be using a tool called the Web Resizer. And that is just in case, if you are an experienced user and you already know how to use Photoshop, then this shouldn't be an issue for you. You know that if you get a large image, you can just simply resize it and make it the size that you want, and upload it to a page using the dimensions and the size that you need. In case you don't have Photoshop, and in case you don't want to use another piece of software such as Photo Filter or whatever's out there in the market, there's this very useful website called the Web Resizer, as I was mentioning. I'm going to click on that, and all that this entails is that you can choose a file from your computer, upload it, and resize it to the size that you need. And what's this image that I keep on talking about? Well, in the layout that we do have this page header, and one of the things that I'd like to do, at least for this project, is for you to use an image that's going to go back inside the page header. Also, we're going to make it so that this content for ID page header goes here is not only simply replaced by an image, but it will also allow us to type text in front of the image. The way that works is that we're going to be loading it into the background of the page header tag. What that entails is going back to the CSS designer, finding in mytemplates.css the page header, and see what the properties are. The width is 960, the height is 150 pixels. And in our background properties, we'll be able to select the background image, and hopefully it'll fit in here. The image that I have provided for you is not necessarily that size. I'll go back to my week 6, and there's this file called the Fotolia pencil background. Fotolia is a great resource, by the way. If you Google that, they're now owned by Adobe, and you can sign up to get free images. You get 3 every week, and you can use them in your projects. You can use them to practice. You can use them for just about anything except to sell stuff. Then you'll have to pay a license. But it's a really useful tool if you're just looking to get your hands on some quality images. So I'm going to click on Fotolia pencil background, and it's going to open up a new page. And actually, that's not really what I want. I wanted to right click on Fotolia pencil background and then tell it to save the link as. I'm going to go into my file. I'm actually keeping it elsewhere. I used to keep it in my desktop, but now I switched over to my OneDrive. I have my OneDrive, El Centro, Web 2, and we're in week 6. Rather than just dumping it into the week 6 folder on its own, I'm going to create a new folder, call that Web 2. or no, I'm going to call it images. And then double click that selected. Fotolia Pencils then goes inside. Now you'll see in the download this is 2.3 megs. That's a pretty big picture, and it'll open up in Photoshop. And like I said, I don't necessarily want to do this in Photoshop. I want to use the Web Resizer instead. So I'll tell it first of all to choose an image from my files. It's already in El Centro. I'll go to Web 2. Here's my week 6, my images, and then here's the pencils that I was talking about. I'm going to click on Open and wait for it to actually, I don't have to wait. I tell it to upload. Don't upload anything above 10 megs. Like I said, this is 2.3 megs, so no problem here, not yet. Then you'll see a couple of images, and this web apps made a couple of assumptions. It thinks that you want it a lot smaller, so it's already given you a 400 by 303 pixels website. Actually, a 400 by 303 pixel image. And although it's not the right size, you can tell right away that it's coming down from this 2.3 megs down to about 56K, 97% smaller, which is awesome because that means that you won't have any problems loading it on any page or any phone or anything like that. However, it still does not fit the area that we want. Well, we can fix that fairly quick. If we go below, it gives us an option to create a new size. Like I said before, we're looking for 960 by 150. Let me go back to the CSS designer and check out that role. It's page header, and that's 960 by 150. So back in my web page, I can say new size will be 960 pixels. Be sure you're going into the width and tell it to apply the changes. It's already loaded the entire image, so now it's giving it to us at 960 pixels. This is still huge. This is still a big image. It's a lot smaller though. It's still 93% smaller. It's 143K. Easy enough. However, this will still not fit into our space. So I'm going to then tell it to, I'm going to the top, tell it to crop this image, and it gives me a square of sorts. If I hover on top of the square, then it allows me to flip it to the side. More specifically though, it does allow me to say this crop will be 960 pixels wide and it'll be 150 pixels tall. I can then lock in those numbers. Now I'm going to find an area of the page, or rather of the image, that I like. I think that I want somewhere in here where I can see the on the left I have that purple pencil, and then on the right I have this gold pencil. In the middle there's this darker area, but I'm not going to worry too much about that. I will tell it to apply the changes, and now it's going to show me. Now I have this much smaller image. It's 97% smaller. It's the dimensions that I want, and now I can tell it to give it to me. Just click here and download this image. Wait for that to go, and it's already renamed it. Now it's called Fotolia Pencils Opt. I'll click on Save, and I'll go back to Dreamweaver. Now I'm here back into my my template. I will go into my template.css, make sure that I am on the page header options, that my properties for background are showing. And then, I may have mentioned this before, if you click on this URL, enter file path, if you click on it once, you'll get this folder. You click on the folder, nothing happens. You have to click on URL again, and then you have to click on browse one more time, and then you'll see what you're browsing. I'm looking into week 6 in my images, and here's my optimized image. I'll double click on that, and now that loads up the image straight into the page header navigation unit, or rather the page header division on top. My text is still there. Content for ID page header goes here, and I'll be coming back to change that in a little bit. In the meantime, I'm happy that I have my image already loaded. It's going to be from this image that I'm going to start to pick colors for the rest of my page. And by that I mean I'm going to click on my body selector and see what the background color currently is, and it should be just blank. It's undefined. I'll click on the palette. That's the little square with the red line going through it. I'll click on set background color, And I could pick any color from the palette. I have a lot of red and black right now, but that's because that's where the palette hue is at the bottom. I can move this lever all the way up to another kind of red, blues, greens, etc. But there's about, well, I don't know a specific number. There's millions of colors you can pick from. And there's lots of web safe colors that you can add using hexadecimal values. You can give it RGB colors. You can do a lot of stuff. I'm going to keep this on hex. But rather than picking a color at random, which by all means you can do, I'm going to instead pick some colors from this picture. So I'll be clicking on the on this sampling tool. I'm going to click on that. That's the eyedropper. And I'm going to hover on top of some of these pencils, and I want to pick maybe one of the lighter browns in the pencil, maybe something like that. Click on that and then press the enter key, return on your Mac, and now my background color was set specifically to that color. Here's the hexadecimal value in case you want to use it elsewhere. You can copy that and move it around and put it somewhere else. Something else that you can download right now is you can get some dummy text from the website. You can type in dummy text or just write a story that goes with this content article, and then maybe for this content a side article. But rather than doing that, I'd recommend you just go and get some dummy text. I have provided you with some on the assignment. I'll go back to week 6, and that's going to be this file called dummy text. You could either click on it and see it and copy and paste it. I'm going to right click on it, save that link, and tell it to put it in the week 6 folder. It's just called Bacon. Rather than using the regular lorem ipsum, I used the Bacon Epsom generator. I'm going to open this in a text editor. You can use Notepad++ or whatever it is that you have handy that will read text. Open file. Here's my Bacon. Open that up, and I'm going to get a couple of paragraphs from here. Just copy that. Right click and copy, or you can do edit copy. Control C works as well. Going back to Dreamweaver, click on my content article, highlight that, and just paste. Edit, paste. And do the same thing on the content aside. Edit and paste. And you'll see that we haven't really given this page any love yet. We haven't given it any space for the text, but we can always come back and change that quickly. I think that one paragraph should be enough on the right side, so I'm going to highlight the second paragraph and delete it. As far as this one is concerned, I just want to make sure that both of these actually are paragraphs, and my format's currently paragraph. Same thing on the right side. If I were to look this on the code side, I could see my paragraph coding. There's an opening P and a closing P. I'll go back to design, and I'm going to minimize my properties, at least for now. Just double click on properties and make it smaller. Okay, I'm going to do a quick styling of some of the text here from top to bottom. Starting with the very top, I'm highlighting the content for page header goes here. I know that my image is kind of dark, so I want to use a lighter font. I also want to use a larger font. So before I do any of that, I need to specify that I want this. I'll bring back my properties. I want to specify this text to have some format, not necessarily a paragraph, but maybe a heading 1. And now I can hide my properties again. I can click on H1 to select that H1 inside of page header. I'm going to make my designer a little bit wider so I can see both columns. In my template.css, then inside my selectors, I'm going to click on plus, and I create a page header H1 tag. Pressing enter to accept, clicking on the text properties, I'll tell it to center it, and there it goes to the center. Also in my text properties, I will give it a new color. I'll set the color to be not necessarily white, although that would work okay. I'm going to use that eyedropper again, and I want to see what this yellow looks like. Well, I'll press enter to accept the color, and then I'll click inside, and that looks okay. I can read that. I can then still in text make it a different kind of font family. I'll use Gotham, and I'll use the font size in EM, not font style but rather font size, this one. In EM I'm using a mouse that is made for an Apple in Windows. So I'll click on EM, and I'm going to make it maybe 3 times as large, so 3M. Content for ID page header goes here, it's easily read. And I don't know what kind of page this is going to be, so I'm going to just arbitrarily say that this is going to be called Dallas Office Supply. Maybe they sell pencils, maybe they sell coloring books. I'll leave that up to you. So my Dallas Office Supply is now there. I'm going to go into the lower part and click here, and I see that I'm inside the content article where there's a paragraph. For the paragraph inside of content article, I'm going to make some changes. I'll be clicking on the P in the tag selector, and that will select the whole paragraph there. And when I go to my selectors and I click plus, then I get a main content article P tag. I'll press enter to accept. That's going to affect both paragraphs, any paragraph that's inside of this one particular division. So I'll go into my text first and choose a new font family. I'll click on that. And maybe for the left side, I want to mimic sort of what I have on the header, and I'll do something else on the right side. So I'll pick on, maybe I'll pick Seago, and I've used that before, and that's a nice font that changes all the paragraphs inside of that. However, you'll see that this is still pretty close to the edge of the division, so you can't, if it were going all the way to the right here, it would be bumping with the text next to it. So I'll then choose a new, in my layout, I'll add some margins or some paddings. If I use the margin, then if I change color in the background, it's going to appear as if it were a sheet of paper inside, and it wouldn't cover the whole thing. So I think that I'm going to stick with a padding. I'm going to add a padding of maybe 10 pixels on one side, and since I want this to be 10 pixels in between these two columns, I'll add 5 on this right side, and then I'll add 5 on the left side when I get to that other division. And although that may sound complicated, it's just a simple math. I'm going to look at the layout currently. The width is being inherited from the content article, and I can click on content article on the right here to see what it is. It's 600 pixels wide, currently 400 pixels. Before I change the width though, I'm going to make sure that this height, since now that I have content inside, is no longer controlled manually. I'm going to let the content decide how tall that's going to be. So I'm going to well, not delete necessarily, I'm going to disable that CSS. So then it's not going to have a height. Even though it doesn't have a height, it still holds all the text because the content is deciding how tall it's going to be. Okay, so now I can go back to the width, which is 600. And I'm still in content article. I need to go back to my content article P that I just created. That's going to inherit the height and the width from the other one. So we want to change it to something else. We want to, if we're going to have 10 on the side and we're going to have 5 on this, it's going to have to be 600 minus 15. And if my trusty calculator is correct, which is in my head, I'm going to say that 600 minus 15 is 585 pixels. That already made a difference. And it might not have been for the better, but that's okay. And although there's a lot less space here now, what I can do is add that padding on the left. I'll tell it to give me 10 pixels, rather 10, not 1 dash. I still have that dash there. I need to change that to pixels. So there's 10 pixels on the left, and on the right I'll click on pixels to make sure it's selected, and I'll click on 5, the number 5. So now I have 5 pixels padding on the right side, and I have 10 on the left, and as you can tell, that's already moving the text inside. going to go to the right, click on side content aside. Here's my paragraph. My content aside needs to change inside of its own selector. Content aside is right here. It's currently the height is 400. I'm going to also disable that. The width is at 360, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add 10 on the right though, and I'm going to add 5 on the left. That's still going to be 360 minus 15. So that's 360, 350, 345 pixels. Not 3000, but only 345. And then in my padding, I already have 5 on the left. I'm going to add, or rather I have 5 on the right of the other one. I'm going to add 5 then on the left for this one. 5. And then I'm going to add 10 on the right in pixels. There's 10 pixels. And you can see that Dreamweaver is giving me a little bit of indication that you have a padding here on the left and on the right, and the same thing on the other box. And now I have some spacing done in there. I can now move on to the page footer at the bottom. Page footer has already been selected. However, I want to make sure that my properties that this has a paragraph. So currently the format is none. I'm going to change that to paragraph. Then I can go into my sources and add a new selector. The selector is now page footer P. In my text properties, I can center by text aligning to the center. I can also change the text font family to something a little more readable for that size. In my opinion, that might be Gotham. And for font size, rather, I'm going to make that in EM. A little bit smaller, maybe 0.5 EM. So that's half the size of a regular text. And now content for ID page footer goes here, it's at the bottom. And I'll leave it up to you. Maybe you want to inside of not necessarily this paragraph, but rather the page footer itself. Page footer here, you can go to your border and add a border on top. Maybe make it thin and make it solid. And the color, make it, well, you can make it black, or you can pick one of the colors from here. I'll choose that brown, press enter. And I'm going to minimize this, and now I can see that my page is coming along very nicely. I've got some dummy text on the left, I got dummy text on the right, and then I have space left open for my page navigation. I'm going to continue this on the next video. In the meantime, just be sure to save your work, and don't be concerned just yet that it tells you that this template does not have any editable regions. We're going to be adding editable regions in the next video.